I think there's two perspectives on what is traditional. And like, there's one perspective that is like, it's freedom, right? The fundamental aspect of this dance we call popping was the feeling of freedom that you could have in this dance. And then there's the later tradition, right? Because if we think about it from the OG perspective, the people that were in that era, and we think, you know, these were kids, first off, junior high, high school, adolescent kids that were, they met this perfect meld of music and pop culture and, robots and, cartoons and all this sort of stuff. And then there was this music that evoked this bang, poof, this texture of movement. And so all these things came together and influenced this generation to move the way that we try to move now. And, to the best of our ability, even though we're not from that time. And so they were mimicking things that they saw in cartoons and so on and so on. It was mimicry to music, basically, right? And so there wasn't really like rules set in place, from what I understand, from what I've been told. There wasn't rules set in place, and that makes sense. There wasn't. These are kids just accessing their creativity, imaginations, and reacting to music. And so there was no like classes on foundation, right? There was no classes on foundation of like how to do this dance. Not that I know of, right? It was just word of mouth. It was on the street. You would ask questions and things like that. And there was no right way to do it. And so over time, things kind of got, money got involved, and, there became like these methods where, you had to fit this format, and that is what popping is, or that is what boogaloo is, that's what waving is, and this is what tutting is. It started to become defined. And I think that's typical, over history, and, things become defined over time. And they kind of work out their kinks, like, okay, that's not efficient, and that's not aesthetically close enough to what we're doing. It's just not useful for what we're trying to accomplish with this music and this movement. So things kind of weed their way out, and things sift to the top, and then we have what we have today. But so the discrepancy is between two perspectives. One is how things are supposed to be done, and one is this is about freedom, this is about expression, and you could tut, you could wave. And see, popping was this kind of umbrella term, right? And even before popping, it was boogaloo in the Bay, and it was like all these things. Oh, he's doing the boogaloo. It was like he's getting down, he's getting off, he's dancing. It was a very broad term because people didn't even know what to call these things. And so over time, people started to kind of, patent or copyright these types of words in a very, not legalistic way, right? Because you can't really copyright moves. So just like you can't copyright the way that you paint on a canvas, it's one of the art forms you can't do that, right? You can't copyright a move. You don't know who gave before you, and blah, blah, blah. But then there was narratives that attributed these moves or this type or style of movement to certain people. So then these people tried to build economies, right? These economic structures to teach workshops, to build students, to build schools, which is all dope. And I'm not saying I got anything wrong with that. The only thing is, like with where we're at now, it's very difficult to, when it comes to judging these competitions, that people are just confused, like what am I supposed to do? Or, where do I find myself within the tradition? Where do I find myself within the culture? Um, how do I find my self-expression while still paying homage and respecting the people before me? And that is super common nowadays. It's so hard because people put their heart and soul and effort, and they sacrifice a lot to do this dance. And not everybody's as good as everybody, but where can we draw the line of objectivity in competition? How can we objectively say that guy won or this guy lost? Or what is popping? You know, I've been popping for 11 years now. And this discussion has been around since I've been around, and the people that have come before me said the same thing. And it's so hard to figure out where we lie, because at the end of the day, the reason why we do this dance is because we love music, right? We love to commune with people. We love to express our creativity and grow and progress in things. But I guess my question is, what is the way? How do we find the balance, the between tradition and the new school? This is the constant question amongst the styles of today, because we are in direct contact with the people that were originating the style. And so they're still around, so we get to pick their brains, and this is so crucial for our era to get it straightened out, to figure it out. And so ultimately I'm just kind of left with this question of like, okay, do I just keep moving? Do I just keep exploring my own thoughts through my body? Do I listen to the music that I love to listen to and let others try and fit me into a box? Oh, okay, that's not popping. Well, what is it then? It's like, and for me, it's like I'm a freestyler with popping tendencies now. It's like I wave, I tut, I glide, I strut, I robot. I do all these things that are under the umbrella of popping. But in popping competitions, it doesn't necessarily fly. Or it's not seen, or it's not heard, or, and I'm not the only one. And I'm not saying, I enter these competitions full, knowing full willingly that I'm probably not going to win this, just because, honestly, I don't know where my body's going to go. I train so much that, I train all these different styles. It's like, sometimes I just, my goal is just to connect to the music, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's flowy and sometimes it's crisp. I think it's important, though, that we really figure out why, personally, for ourselves, why we do this dance. Because when competitions come about, it's very difficult to sustain the feedback, maybe you lose and you felt you won, and or you lost or you won, and you don't know where to go from there. It's hard. How do we build different avenues for people with different styles or different approaches? These are just questions that have been on my mind for many years now, and I feel like we got to figure this out. And I think we're all trying to compete for this small piece of pie, not realizing that there's many pies ready to be made. I think we got to make more pies, and so we can live in abundance and not in this state of famine. And I think the famine is people walking away bitter from losses, and they just keep trying to do it the same way, and that path of battles and competition is maybe paved for some. It naturally fit. They like the way that the judges like that dance, but then there's other ways. We have to think about other ways. We put all our energy into trying to win, to try to elevate and to become world class and travel the world and teach workshops and be invited and fly out. But we took all that energy and we tried to think about problem solving and trying to figure out what other possibilities, what other avenues we can create with this movement. Man, I just feel like there's a lot of energy lost that we could just redirect it and build a world where people are not thirsty. And that's where I just feel like we're at right now. And 2021, things are going to change, and I feel like I'm optimistic about it. So anyways, just some thoughts. Yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below. I hope to create some discussion. I'm not claiming to know much. It's just you're my peoples, and I just like to bounce ideas with y'all. So anyways, much love, y'all.